Yes.
Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back to what is this? Episode 6, I believe, of the
Yes.
renamed the
Season.
Jumpcast. Last week we decided to rename the podcast from the Shonen Jump podcast the Jumpcast. So we are now the Jumpcast, and this week we're actually joined again by, or not again with Connor, but again another guest. We are joined
Yes, with
by
another guest.
I'd say a friend of mine I've been sitting with at my college's football games. Oh, do you want to introduce yourself?
What's up, guys? My name's Isaac. I am a friend of Max here. Met him past few weeks. It's been a lot of fun to get to know him, have fun at the games. I'm excited to be on your podcast, man. It's nice.
All right, sweet. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, so I met Isaac like a few weeks, a month ago when like the college football season started.
I think it was the Oregon State game.
Is it
Something like that.
something? Yeah, cause
San
yeah,
Diego State.
San Diego. That was it. Cause I didn't have anyone in my student section that I knew to sit with, and then a mutual friend of ours was like, "Hey, bro, you want to come sit with us?" And then just somehow we got on the talk, and like, dude, I love Berserk, and I'm like, have you tried Vinland Saga?
Yeah, I think you said something about manga, and I was like, dude, you should go help him rewrite or finish Berserk. And then when we discovered we both like Berserk, that just spiraled, and then Vinland got brought up. And I was at the time I hadn't started reading Vinland yet. I had just finished the anime, uh, and normally I'm not a big manga reader. I've pretty much only read Berserk. So, but I like the anime so much for Vinland. I was like, this seems like my type of thing. And
Yeah.
currently through volume 9, and I'm having a great time. It's
So
been a very enjoyable read.
Yeah. So yeah, and then also Nick, our co-host. Sorry, Nick, I forgot.
You're all good.
Nick is always joining us, of course, and Nick has also been reading Vinland Saga too. So he's about at the same point, or one issue ahead of. Yeah. So I thought it'd be fun because Isaac sent me a snap last week. He's like, "Dude, Vinland Saga is so goated. I'm on this chapter." I'm like, "Dude, do you want to come on the podcast?" And I'm like, "Oh, this would be a great deal. Kind of just have like a discussion about Vinland Saga." Because I just also Isaac, I don't think I told you. So we had to do in my creative writing class a like memoir, creative nonfiction piece, and I'm like, I don't want to write and share this with like 30 basically strangers. So I'm like, well, what can I do? And then it all spawned from like, I'm like, well, I'm going to compare a fictional and a real life person I look up to, compared to my grandpa. And then the part of writing about Thorfinn, who's someone I do look up to, spawned from, there was a discussion on, I forget what site, but someone was like bad-mouthing Thorfinn, and I'm like, no, I can't let that slide. So my entire piece on why I like Thorfinn is literally just that post, taking out all the spelling mistakes and bad words and stuff. So yeah, but yeah, so yeah, you guys are both about issue, or Nick's further, but Isaac, you're about end of issue 9, which for everyone at home that is reading Vinland Saga, that's about. The part you're at is Thorfinn. Yeah, I forget. I don't remember all the arc names, but so it's about.
Anything after farm arc is just like what?
Yeah, it all blends together. Like it was very clearly on a farm, and now they're all over the place. Like they're in Iceland one day, then they're like now they're all the way back.
They go to like they don't talk, they don't show up, but they go to like Greece at one point too. So I thought it was kind of a fun part to sell like the. I might be thinking ahead. Am I?
You're very far ahead. They were talking about that plan.
They were talking about it. Okay.
Because they're also bringing up the Baltic Sea, how they need to get over there.
Yeah. So right now they're in Norway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So now
we're also jumping like every now and then, like every 10, 20 issues, we just randomly jump to Canute or Thorkel, like wherever they're at. So like. Yeah, it's not all localized in one place.
Bro, I love that little mini section about Thorkel wrestling the bear, and then he just like cracks it back. He's like, "Bring me a bigger one, come on."
Yeah. Meanwhile, Thorfinn is being chased by the bear in the woods, and they're only saved because Helga comes in
Yeah.
with a crossbow.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, she's such. I didn't like her at first, and then now with like the stuff that's currently going on the manga, I'm like, she's a goated character. Like rereading her introduction arc, I'm like, she's a really cool character. I liked her.
You originally didn't like her introduction. I think that it was done so well.
Well, okay, because like my it was done well. That wasn't my issue. It was at the beginning, Thorfinn's all about
I
revenge and
guess,
stuff.
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, another person that wants revenge. Okay, come on, get in line. But then I'm reading what's currently going on. Don't spoil, but I'm like, goated character. Reread it, and I'm like, this makes so much more sense. Like oh my gosh, I forget what I was gonna talk about, but I thought her whole introduction arc and that whole like backstory thing of like after Askeladd and his crew and Thorfinn raided her town, and then goes to like her with like the bear hunter. Goated. I loved that scene.
Right.
Well,
I have a question. Oh,
Yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
I'll let Isaac. No, Isaac, you go on. You go first.
I was just gonna say, I think, like, when you introduce a character like that, like, as I'm starting to understand more about where I envision Thorfinn's arc going, like, you need a character like this because
Yeah.
Thorfinn keeps bringing up how, like, his past has to catch up with him. Like, just having the vision of, like, okay, we want to build a new society in Vinland. Like, this is what we want to do. It's gonna be great. Like, I don't want to commit violence anymore. But like I think Thorfinn knows like just wanting to do that and setting out to do that, like that's not enough. Like his actual past, his actual actions need to come back in one way or another, and she is like the perfect embodiment of that. Like
Mm.
even though it's like gonna keep happening, like now that especially now that Thorkel caught up with him again and Flocky's involved, like I think it just needs to keep happening, and at some point, like Thorfinn's gonna have to do something about it at some point.
Okay, that's a much better way of looking at it. That makes
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a question. So have either of you, this is going on to like a different subject entirely, but have either of you, do you know the story of The Last of Us Part 2 and like the criticisms behind it?
Yeah, like about
Somewhat,
the cycle of
yeah.
violence.
Yeah. I just think that, so what is it? If you know the story of The Last of Us Part 2, it's it got a lot of criticism for talking about such like a simple subject of just like violence is bad. Um and like like the cycle of violence and like revenge. But like this like that arc introducing her, I forgot her name already. It was just a way better way of doing like the cycle of revenge. Like just seeing exactly like her own perspective and her own backstory, like seeing your family get slaughtered right before your eyes.
Yeah, I get yeah.
Yeah.
Cuz
Well,
yeah. Oh, I'll let you talk first.
it reminds me of something Thorfinn said to Einar when they were back on the farm, like
Mhm.
where he was first starting to open it up about his dreams and about his past, and he brings up Askeladd, and then he's like, "Yeah, I spent all these years hating him and wanting to kill him," and then he finally like he's like, by the time he finally died, like he didn't really even want him dead anymore, like maybe like he acted that because that was basically his entire identity for all those years was okay, I gotta kill this guy. But then he realizes when it's too late and he's actually dead, that's like that's not really what he wanted. That wasn't gonna bring him fulfillment. And she's gonna realize the same exact thing. Like I am fully convinced at some point, whether it's already happened where the manga currently is or if it needs to happen later, like she's not gonna want to kill Thorfinn. Like not just because of a sense of obligation to not perpetuate violence, like she's gonna like genuinely like him, I think. Just
Mm,
like Thorfinn liked Askeladd, even if he didn't want to
Yeah.
admit it.
Come to an understanding.
exactly. That's yeah, I like that. Cuz that is something yeah, that I think Vinland Saga entirely is like the cycle of revenge is doing really well cuz I feel like the cycle of revenge of like in like a ton of media is like, oh, getting back at that person and then you get back, but like the main character, whatever feels fulfilled. But like as an audience, like okay, well, what did that do? Like they just killed him. It didn't do it. So I like Thorfinn. Thorfinn, I will say, is like one of my favorite main characters ever. I love him. He's so goated. But I don't know.
agree.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll say Thor. Yeah, I know. Well, Vinland Saga. I do agree with you guys that it is such a good revenge plot, but or I should say, you think it's a revenge plot and then it's not. But
I'm just curious, like, I just highly doubt it that that Thorfinn is gonna be able to continue on this journey without having to like resort to like straight up killing people. Like I feel like it's coming at some point, and I'm curious as to how he's gonna respond to it when he has to do it. Um, and I'm scared for him. Like I just love the optimism and the way he's been able to turn himself around. You know, coming from the farm, like it genuinely makes me happy. Like to see that happen, especially like I'm used to protagonists just taking L's after L after L. Like I mean, Guts is like my favorite character. Like I always expect that to continually happen, especially if you look at like where Berserk is at right now. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But so I'm curious as to like I feel I'm like in my heart Thorfinn is gonna have an event where he has to go back, and I'm curious as to how he's gonna respond to that.
I say he responds very well. The event, I think, is going to be a lot more bigger than you think it's going to be, too. So that's something I should say to look out for. And I think mainly what you're reading right now is honestly kind of set up for it. Because I'm trying to think, like, if Nick's read issue 10...
What is it? Yeah.
Then
Max,
you're still...
You're going to see his resolve be a little bit stronger. But it's still, like, what is it? I'm not going to go into it. It's just really good. Thorfinn as a character is, what is it? Just a few things that he has to say coming in like the next issue for you. I don't know if I'm gonna, what is, no other way to,
I know, we're trying to jump around, like, spoilers.
yeah,
Spoiler,
yeah.
I get it.
Just, what is it? I understand that perspective, but I think that your perspective may change around in the next issue.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
It's like you'll realize that he's a lot more grown of a character than you expect him to be, and like, what is it? I don't know. He understands his flaws so much as a person, and can analyze himself like so quickly.
yeah.
So yeah,
Well, it's like when we're talking about violence or this cycle of violence or Thorfinn's very admirable um, goal to completely eliminate it from his life. Like that presents a very strong moral dilemma, especially if you look at where he is right now. He's got this band that follows him. That is like he's basically leading him. Like, yeah, I guess technically they're using Leif Erikson's ship, and he's the one like doing the navigating. But like Thorfinn is like it seems like he's the impromptu leader. Um, like at a certain point, when does your vow to not commit violence, when does that start to get people killed? Like he's got a baby now that he's looking after.
Mm-hmm.
Like what is more moral at the end of the day? Like using violence as a last resort to protect the ones you care about, or like staying true to that to his philosophy, like even in the face of death. Like,
so you're like
that's
asking, like, is he
very
gonna...
good question.
Like, are you asking, like, oh, is he gonna follow it to the letter, or is he gonna be like, oh, well, there's like a little gray area there, like... Is that what you mean?
Like, I feel like there's going to be a gray area. I'm just like wondering how far he's gonna let that go without assassinating what his philosophy is. Like, because you can tell it's something he clearly cares about. Like, he wants to build an entire country. That's how much he cares about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, how does that compare to how much he cares about his friends, about his brother, about his mom, about his sister? Like, what does that look like? I don't know yet.
Ooh, yeah. The only thing I'll say is
Well,
you gotta keep reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's basically it, without spoiling like the entire like next arc.
Like, the perfect question to ask of just like how far does he have to go with his own morals?
Exactly. Well,
That's a very good question to ask.
that
Very
is, yeah.
forward-thinking.
And that's a good thought going in, because I mean, it kind of seems like they were hinting at the end. I'm just like flipping through the pages towards the end. of the of
Of
issue
9.
9, they're going, or of 9. Did I say 10? 9. I meant 9. That those
Nice.
morals and that philosophy is going to be tested. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy who killed his father is coming after him.
yeah.
He
Well-
may not know. He may not
Yeah.
know that he killed his father yet, but when he finds out, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he's gonna find out. That is also gonna be another thing.
Mhm.
He know, like Thorfinn knows revenge isn't the answer. He knows that.
Bro, you're like 10 chapters away from all this. Everything is flooding.
We're gonna pause and you're just gonna keep reading. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we gotta reconvene in an hour. Like, oh, this is what happens.
But
Um,
it's really going. I think what you're kind of talking about. It's gonna come down to Thorfinn's morals of not wanting to kill, like the you have no enemies. What does it mean to be a true warrior? Everything from his dad,
Yeah.
and then all the revenge stuff from like Askeladd. Those two kind of
Yeah.
sets of ideals, kind of
yeah.
butting heads. You're just
Because you also you gotta recognize Askeladd was just as much of a father to Thorfinn as Thor's
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, there's such a goated panel
think even
that you're.
more
You literally, with
Well-
with what you just said, there is a beautiful panel you'll get to see eventually.
One of my favorite parts of since I picked up the manga, like starting in the farm arc, was when he actually talks to Askeladd in his dream.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because
Okay.
Yeah.
obviously, like Askeladd is a fan favorite. He's one of the, in my opinion, even only being in like that first main war arc, like he's one of my favorite antagonists.
He
in
still
everything
has such
and everything.
and that's what I like about it, because he has such a big impact on the rest of the series. Just even though he's
Yeah.
been gone from Thorfinn's life for like
Yeah,
3,
well, just
5
like
years
Thor's-
or whatever.
Just
Yeah.
like Thor's does. How
Yeah.
many times does Thorfinn still see his father and still has his father come down and say, "You have no enemies"?
Exactly.
It's happened like a dozen times now. I imagine it's gonna keep happening.
Yeah, and that's something that like with the figures, and I think that's what makes these characters kind of stick with us as an audience and kind of adapt their morals. Like I jokingly say as like Thorfinn, I'm like, dude, I have no enemies, a true warrior, whatever. But I'm like those ideologies and those philosophies, like especially with like also Vagabond too. A lot of the ideals of like Miyamoto Musashi kind of stuck with me a lot as I've been reading that. Are like what makes these series great and what makes them important to us as an audience. That's the key part.
Yeah, I'm excited to one day read Vagabond. That's
so
definitely
good.
on my list. But like when you hear people talk about like manga or stories like this, like people tend to group the big three of seinen together.
Yeah.
Like there's the famous like fan art of Guts, Thorfinn, and I don't know the Vinland.
Yeah.
Or the character's name,
Musashi, yeah.
Yeah. You see them like sitting all at a table, and it's like there's something about the journeys that these types of characters go through that is slightly different than most other shonen. Like, and I'm not putting down shonen. I love that shit, but like
Yeah.
there's a clear difference in tone that makes those characters' journeys just a step different. Like you analyze them in a different way almost.
And I would say a lot of the time with like seinen stuff compared to shonen is a lot of seinen more I feel like has stuck with me more, because even though it's still like Berserk is clearly still rooted in fantasy, it feels more realistic than something like Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, I mean even Jujutsu Kaisen or Bleach or Chainsaw Man. It feels realistic. I think that's why also the seinen stuff has a better thing, and it's more realistic. And
Like,
I'll let you go, Nick.
no. You should finish your topic first.
But it's like also like when you said like grouping the big three of seinen together, I think also the reason a lot of those characters are grouped together, it's those series are grouped together. It's not just because they're seinen, they're bestsellers. It's because all of those three characters, even though they're from completely different universes, they still go through pretty similar experiences. It's like, yeah, Miyamoto Musashi's not on like a whole revenge plot, but like a lot of his philosophy with the sword intertwines, I think, with Thorfinn, and Thorfinn and Guts' revenge plot come together, and Guts' like wanting to become a stronger person completely like intertwines with Miyamoto Musashi. It's like a triangle. They keep meshing together, and that's why I think those three are like the big three of seinen. But
Yeah.
I think the big reason why the three are grouped together is there's what is it? There's a lot of character similarities. Like all three of them are known as being some form of animalistic or not being human in the ways that they act, at least when they're younger, or even now on with like guts and everything, still with like the beasts of darkness and everything.
Yeah.
Like they're all no, like what is it? You haven't read Vagabond, but there's even little bits of it where they just say like he's a monster, he's an animal.
he's a beast. He's not human. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not human, and it's trying to quell that sort of thing and trying to create a better understanding with the world. And even Musashi, like what is it? His philosophy is rooted behind revenge and rooted behind feeling inferior to someone. Because like he has this whole strength quest because of his own dad.
Yeah.
And like the whole cycle of just like trying to be the strongest. That goes on to just more like Vagabond's thing. But
Yeah.
like they're all three characters that have similar outlooks that maybe that the audiences and like what many people can relate with and understand. I'm not saying everyone feels like a beast or anything, but everyone has felt like some form of like they were unwieldy at one point in life.
Yeah.
And
When
you're
it's
just seeing how these people, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, no, go finish your thought.
Yeah. And you're just seeing how they grow and how they grow in unique ways, and then like people take those ideals, like what is it? Like even in Vinland Saga, like the whole like I have no enemies, like I try to think of that process in my life. Like whenever, of course, like if someone makes me mad for a second, it's just like I have no enemies, I have no qualms, you know?
Yeah.
Zen, that sort of stuff.
How can you apply it to real life is something like is kind of what you're going on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think there's so much because it's like, especially like, I think there's also something that's gained because of how long these series are and like how many events that they go through, like especially in like Berserk, like it's about the continual struggle.
Yeah.
Like he's
Yeah.
literally called the struggler.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing the same thing with Thorfinn because again, it's like you keep running into these things and you have to keep moving forward. You have to continue that struggle. And I think the reasons I've liked these two stories a lot, especially compared to other mediums, and it's not to discredit like either a shonen or like something not related to anime or manga, but I like how many small like personal moments there are that take you away from how grand the world is. Like Vinland Saga spends like 40 chapters on a farm and not a lot's going on. Like literally just a few characters talking for for most of that entire portion, right? Like same with Berserk, the amount of times they just spent on a boat talking or like just around the campfire in the Golden Age. Like I like those moments in these stories that take us back from the scale of the world, from all the battles and from all these moments, and just remind us that this really is just about the mental state of these characters. Like a lot of people describe Berserk as a romance over any
Yeah,
other genre.
I could see that.
I completely agree.
Well, Miura
Um,
loved. Sorry, but Miura loved romances. That's also part of it, and that's something you can see. I say, I Isaac. I was just gonna say I jokingly call myself the romance manga guru. I'm not,
Yeah,
but so I've noticed that Berserk, the character development and the focus on the characters is very slice of life, like very romance, very. But just wanted to put that in before I forgot that thought. But
A man with a 6-foot sword, slice of life. I can't.
I mean, like straight up, Guts and Casca. That is my favorite relationship in any piece of media, any
okay,
like literally of all time, no question.
Mhm.
that's fair.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's pretty crazy that that's happening in a world like where this man again, 6-foot sword, fucking 500 pounds, walking around slaying demons all the time. Like it's weird to think about, but like that is the case.
So Isaac, something you said earlier about like the stuff coming up in their life and them being able to keep struggling. I feel like that's something that a lot of people deal with, where something comes up in their life and they're like, oh, I'll just let it happen instead of pushing forward. And that's something why after reading something like Vinland Saga and Berserk and Vagabond, that's something I'm trying to get better about in my life. And that's again touching back to what Nick said about being able to apply their philosophies to your real life, just being able to keep pushing forward when times gets tough, whatever. But yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to, because it's a fact. It's not like a possibility. Like, it's a fact that bad stuff will happen. Like, this is the truth of life.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but I think the first step is accepting that it's going to be a struggle going in, and then trying to stay happy and stay positive and keep, like, already have that will to struggle, like, beforehand. I think that's what you get out of these stories, is in watching someone overcome defeat time and time and time again, and not let, like, for Thorfinn to not let his anger and his hatred and his amazing art to kill people, not let that overtake him, or not let the beast of darkness overtake Guts. Like, watching that happen over and over again, it makes it so much easier to just think about in your own life, like, even with little stuff. Like,
perfect.
Very well said.
Yeah, very. You're leaving me speechless. I'm like, well, how do I follow that up?
I'm an English major. I have a way with words.
We gotta get you more on. Yeah, we gotta get you on more. You gotta analyze stuff for us.
I need to read. I need to spend more time reading manga. I read enough.
But oh my gosh, I had a thought. Forgot it though. Oh my gosh.
Gone after that beautiful speech.
Bro, I'm not. But oh yeah. I'm trying to think like. Try to think of like stuff to say without being like, oh yeah, well, this is like Thorfinn that, because that's all I've really like. I feel like that's all I've really put in to this episode so far. I'm like, oh yeah, well, I apply this to my life because I was like this and stuff. So I'm trying to think of like just.
Oh, we can talk about that sort of stuff. That's
I know.
like fun stuff to discuss.
I know, but I'm like.
Well, here's a great question to ask Isaac. What a part of Thorfinn's philosophy or anything in Vinland Saga do you try to apply to your own life?
Well,
That's a good one.
I think about how Thorfinn has recognized specifically what went wrong. Like, he specifically recognized that his anger and his hatred didn't do anything for him, and that's not the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about times in my life where something has happened or events transpired, and I spent so much energy, like, with, you know, having hatred towards it, that I missed out on time that I could have spent doing something productive, like, you know, building the Vinland Saga, or, you know, going to Vinland, whatever, like, in my own life. Like, I'd say that's the immediate thing I'd recognize, is that his ability to recognize all that went wrong and then make a change, like, right away. That is what I admire the most. I would most definitely.
Okay. Yeah. You keep giving such good thoughts. I don't know how to follow up.
Max, what about you? You really love Vinland Saga anyways. I'm sure that you've taken a lot from it.
No, just Thorfinn's ideals of just his philosophy of just being able to keep pushing forward. Again, back to we talked about with Berserk too, about being a struggler, being able to keep pushing forward, just that sort of thing. And one of the big things that I like about Vinland Saga is Thorfinn's ability to grow from his past. I mean, and you notice that the past comes back to bite him in Hilga and other characters and whatnot. But his ability to just keep pushing, like, keep pushing forward and grow from it, become a better person. That's just something I've been trying to do. And then something like, you know, Thorfinn the calmer runt and stuff. I grew up being very, very. I'm not short anymore. I'd say I'm average height now, but I grew up being very short. And like when I played in Little League lacrosse, my nickname was Pebbles. Like stuff like that, where I was tiny, and just that part of like Thorfinn being pretty small throughout his entire life. I mean, he still is small, but that's kind of what's also stuck with me about, you know, someone, because I always thought that like. Because a lot of my life in my younger years came from a lot of my ideologies came from like sport and stuff, and I thought I couldn't be a good lacrosse player. I couldn't do good in this. I couldn't do good in this because I wasn't tall. And me being what I was like 17 or probably not 17, probably 18 when I ended up reading Vinland Saga, and that kind of made me like look back and I'm like, well, yeah, I was short, but I did a lot of stuff back then. So just being able to push past yourself and height not being a big factor in your life. Those are the two things. Yeah.
I like that a lot. I've never really thought about how Thorfinn's height like plays into how people first look at him. Especially like you contrast that with Guts, who was massive and carries a massive sword, and like he walks in and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this guy means business." You look at Thorfinn, and he's either a tiny kid with daggers, or like right now, like he's clean shaven. He looks like just this like average Joe, like he wouldn't hurt a fly. At least or when he was a slave, he just looks like just some random homeless scrawny kid. Like I think that is sort of an important piece of his character, because that's how everybody portrays him.
Don't judge a book by its cover. I think that's. I didn't think of it then, but that's what I was kind of thinking towards. Well, another moment with like judging someone on their appearances in Vinland Saga is when the first time Thorkel meets Thorfinn on like the bridge in London. He's like, everyone's like, what is this little kid gonna do? And then Thorkel doesn't judge him. He says, well, he came on all by himself. Let's see what he can do. But I'm trying to think back on like other stuff in Vinland Saga. But another thing also with Vinland Saga that I really like is that you can have mentor figures. You don't, in a sense, you don't just have one dad. You have other maternal figures that have shaped how you are. Like, Thorfinn had Leif Erikson. He had Thor's his own biological dad, and he had Askeladd, which was kind of like, I would almost say like an adoptive dad. And you see in the series with their banter that Askeladd even kind of accepts that mentality of like being a father figure for him. So. Nick, do you have anything you want to add, or?
Well, what is it? I don't know what else to say.
I know. I'm just like running on. I'm like, dude, I gotta earn my keep here today.
what I've taken from Vinland Saga, and this is more of just things of like, well, what is it? As I've said that, like, I have no enemies. Like, I try to be a lot more of a peaceful person with people. I don't try to have spite against anyone, like people that I see day to day or stuff like that. Like, everyone's equal. Everyone has good days. Everyone has bad days. I should treat everyone neutrally. Like, everyone should be treated with kindness. That sort of stuff. And then, what is it? Him, regretting what he's done in his past. I think that almost everyone can relate to that, but like trying to grow from it is also something that's just like, it's nice to see that someone else, at least in fiction, is showing that same sort of struggle. Just like, I felt like I was a horrible person in my past. I want to move forward from this. I love that. It's a great theme from, like, as you were talking about it, like with the chapter where Thorfinn's in hell. I think that that's one of the best things ever drawn and written in manga.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was so good. The whole like Thorfinn carrying all the dead soldiers on his back, dragging them. So good.
I do also like that kind of aspect too of it's like everyone you've interacted with in your life, you still carry them with you even if they're not around anymore. Kind of like what Thorfinn was saying in Hell is like, they're still with you, keep going. You might have had a relative that really made an impact on your life that passed away. Well, even if you're not religious, that person still made an impact on you, and they're still, I'd say, part of your current being, and that means they're carrying them with you, whatever. I don't want to go into religion and stuff, but but yeah, that's kind of just, I like that. I like this discussion. This is good.
I think everybody, like, I relate to that on many personal levels. I mean, like, obviously I've had people who have passed away, but I've also had people who are still out there, just they're no longer a part of my life, and that's just the way it is, and like it sucks. But the impact is like even ones that have like relationships that ended poorly with friends or with whoever, like the a lot of like with Thorfinn, like literally killing people leaves a sour taste in his mouth. Some of those relationships in real life leave a sour taste in your mouth,
Mm.
and it's like you can either be defined by that, and you can either let that be the biggest thing that drags you down from day to day, or you can let it empower you. Like
Okay.
you
Yeah.
can wear it like armor, like, and have that be your strength as opposed to your like fatal flaw. And it can easily go either way, and that's what's so scary about it is like it's a very fine line you walk. I mean, like Thorfinn literally like visually was being dragged down into hell. Like, and he had to claw his way out. Like that's how thin the line that you have to walk with that is. And it's scary. It's scary in Vinland and it's scary in real life.
Again, so well put together.
Leave it
But
as
what did we?
speechless.
Where did we fail, Max?
Where did we fail? Dude,
This
we
is
gotta switch. I gotta switch out of the business school, dude. I gotta become an English major, a
Become an
philosophy
English
major.
major.
yes.
If you need me to analyze the logistics of Thorfinn's route and stuff, I could do that for you. But
Yeah.
so something I wanted to touch on with you is also like not just like character analysis stuff like that with Vinland Saga is also just like the art, and since you're an English major too, the writing of Vinland Saga too. So how have you enjoyed? I just want to ask like how have you enjoyed it in the as like the medium? Do you think like just leave it at how have you liked Vinland Saga, like the art, the writing, whatever? How have you liked it? Like, do you have I mean, we've kind of maybe touched on a few of them, like a few favorite
I'll,
moments, a
I'll
few
I'll tell
characters
you
besides Thorfinn that have kind of stuck with you, or
one
anything like
one thing
that.
I really like about Vinland is how you can have like just one small like piece in the plot or in the narrative that really like when you're looking at the narrative overall, like that one moment doesn't really matter, but like you sprinkle them in everywhere and like they really leave a profound impact on the reader. Like great example would be in the first war arc, like as Thorfinn's in this dark place and he's traveling with Askeladd and his band, there's like four or five moments where Thorfinn comes across a random family, and of course, they get raided and they get killed. Like the first one is when he was like sent behind enemy lines by himself as a scout, and then he gets taken in by that family, and they clean him up and they try to be nice to him, and then Thorfinn walks out, and then the entire village gets slaughtered. Like something like that happens like four times, and it's like, yeah, if you look at the overall plot, like there were probably hundreds of moments like that that we weren't shown, that the reader wasn't shown, like in all the years he was with that group. But I think by showing us just a few of those individual moments, it really sets in like what is going on, like why this is such a personal problem for Thorfinn. Um, and I really like the way uh, the author has done that and incorporated those moments. Because like I don't even think we remember any of those guys' names, like those random villagers who died. But I think what they have done for the story, I think, is very unique, and I really like that.
Yeah. Well, also I think a lot of the scene, especially with like the farmers, that before they get raided, and then one of the other scenes that kind of reminded me of that is right before it's like right when like Askeladd's crew is thinking about turning on them, and Canute and Ragnar like get the or like Thorfinn gets the rabbit, and then Ragnar's like, oh, we'll come in, we'll make a dinner, we'll make something with it. And I think that for me goes back to what I was saying about father figures don't have to be your biological dad with Canute and Ragnar, but
Hmm.
those I do agree those little moments are so good.
One of my favorite dialogue sequences, honestly, like in anime and manga, it was such a good quote. Is when they were talking to the old man on the farm. I can't remember his name. Uh, but the old man who was like the father, uh, and the grandfather who like lived in the shack, who let him use his tools, and he said that really famous quote, probably what I imagine has to be one of the more famous lines in the manga, where Thorfinn is like, lamenting on his emptiness and his inability to like leave his past. Um, and the old man's just like, if you're empty, then that is the perfect state to be in to make a change because you have a lot of room to fill yourself up with something new, or it went something along those lines. The way he said it was much better, but I felt like that just sort of came out of nowhere. I wasn't really expecting something so deep, and I loved it. Like, I just it hit me all of a sudden, and I was like, damn, this shit is gas.
I don't even remember that quote, but
I got
like,
I
what is
gotta
it? I remember reading that, but just like
I
it
gotta go
never
back and find it.
stuck in my head that well, like until you just said that, because now I'm gonna remember that for a long time. Um, but yeah, that's really good. That just reminds me of how good the pacing is with the whole story. And I forgot what is it? I think it may have been a video analysis or something that I heard about. It's just the like how they made what is it? What is it? The progress of Thorfinn, like how do you make a pacifist in fiction? Is like one of the great ways of doing it is showing that he wasn't one beforehand. Because like if you just have someone as a pacifist as a character, they're considered a coward. There's like you don't have a lot of what is it? Confidence in them. You don't really like them as a character, but just showing that buildup of a guy that has been through those same struggles and realized the negativity of it.
Yeah, I found the exact quote. He says, "If you're empty, then you can take in anything. If you want to be reborn, then it's in your best interest to become empty."
Oh.
And then he asks him, he's like, uh, "Can I be reborn?" That's what Thorfinn asks, and then the guy just says, "Work. Your hands aren't moving." Like,
And yeah,
yeah,
that's when he's the slave, right? And like
yeah,
he's
that's when
talking
he's
to
the
like the
slave.
old grandpa
Yeah.
dude. Okay,
Yeah, like
that's who I thought it was.
I love that line. They're like on a beach and they got the waves and the sunlight, so it's like all ambient. Like, but
Mhm.
I just like the fact that that could just come out of this character that like I barely even knew anything about. He's just this old grumpy old dude. Um, I think that was one of the most key turn, and this comes right after he was opening up about Askeladd and he had the hell dream sequence. Um, so I love that moment. That's that. If I like could pick a favorite moment, that might be my favorite moment right there
Okay.
in the whole thing.
Because I think also, I'm going to touch on again, I'm going to keep making callbacks to when we talked about the Dark 3. I think also why the Dark 3 is so good is because it shows three different characters that are all, I'd say, not all the same, but quite similar, go through some similar experiences of like something where they become nothingness and different ways that to grow from it. You see Thorfinn wants to just become a better person, and or I'd say that nothingness you talked about, that
Yeah,
Thorfinn wants to create something, wants to do something with it. Guts, I mean, I'm not bagging on Guts here, but Guts just goes out for revenge and does that, and then Miyamoto does his own thing in Vagabond or whatever. But so, oh.
yeah.
I don't feel bad. I'm just like interjecting with like little tidbits and stuff. But I'm like, I'm
No,
trying
it's
to
Dude,
think.
good. It's
it-
good.
I'm
it's
trying to
hard to
think.
well, it's hard to do it compared to our weekly reviews and stuff because it's just like, well, that's the other thing with like the three sign-ins that like none of them ever come out anymore. I mean,
I
like
we
Berserk,
get I get Vinland Saga because I'm all caught up. I get it once a month. I get a new chapter once a month.
it's coming out regularly now once a
Yeah,
month.
it can't. It
Okay.
was on hiatus for about a year or two, I think, for a bit when I started reading it, and then recently a few chapters here and there started coming out, and then the author came off hiatus. I think it was because the anime started getting a ton of traction, people catching up.
Yeah,
But
it's crazy to think because like again, as someone who's sort of new to reading manga, this whole month, 2 month, 3 month, however long between chapters, it drives me crazy as somebody who isn't used to it. But it's also funny because like with Berserk, which is technically the only manga I'm caught up on reading on a whenever they come out, like
Mhm.
I sort of got into it at the best time in terms of how quickly I get new material. It's
Hmm.
like I got
Oh
into it
yeah,
right after Mura died or passed away. Obviously, there was a huge like a year before it started coming out, but now they're coming out like once every month or two. Which, if you guys know anything about Berserk, like there was a sequence where they were on the boat, and
you're getting the good
that
times.
was like
Yeah.
10 years,
Yeah,
10 real life years, like going like a chapter a year, or like there was like a 5 year break I think where he just had nothing. Like
dude. The Berserk community, because what is it? I I forgot at what time. I forgot when. What is it? When Casca, uh, the whole dream sequence with
yeah,
Casca.
hmm
Like that's when I got into it right after that arc ended, or that like little mini arc ended.
yeah,
So like it's the whole like you like wait 6 months and then you like go onto like Reddit and then it's just like there's a new chapter coming out and the whole community's talking again and then
yeah,
it'd be like it's shut down for like another
yeah.
year.
Memes are what sort of keep it alive, like
Yeah.
and shit. I love the Berserk community because a lot of them just are absolutely ruthless and just carry it through really dark humor,
Exactly.
which I
Yeah.
love. But also it's funny too because in that sequence, like in the middle of Casca like getting her mind back and everything, like all of a sudden you'd just be interjected with a Griffith chapter, Falconia.
Oh
And
yeah.
everyone would
Yeah.
get. I've seen like things of like when that was coming out, people would get so mad. Like, I waited 8 months to see Griffith having a conversation with just an apostle or something. Like yeah, not fair. I would be pretty pissed. But well, now we get a new one every few months. Maybe that's the next time I'll have to join you guys, if not sooner, is for the new Berserk chapter.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not fully caught up on
You're
Berserk.
not caught up. You gotta get
I
caught up.
I'm like 2 chapters after Miura died. So the ending of the at the time when I read Berserk, be almost 2 years
It
now.
was
I
over a
think.
year ago.
Yeah, I read it. So Isaac, I read it when Nick and a bunch of other of our friends were going on the senior trip, and I'm like, oh, a bunch of people in there like Berserk. Well, let me just make. I'm not
Trying
saying
to
it was a
grind
big
out
mistake.
this.
I'm like, let me just grind it out, and I read it in like 2 weeks. Like all 360 whatever chapters at the
Yeah.
time, and I had to. I would read 10 chapters and be like, okay, this is so depressing. I don't know if I could keep going. I'd watch like an episode of A Slice of Life, keep going. My happiness would like meter would go up. Read 10 more chapters, go down, and I just kept that cycle going. So that's
Yeah.
why also like with Berserk, I like Berserk a lot, but I feel like that's why I didn't get a ton out of it because I just focused on powering through it, not looking into like everything. But
Yeah.
so
See,
maybe I'll have to reread it
for
if I have
me,
the
it was
time.
like I liked it, thought it was cool, it was okay, and then like halfway through the golden age, I was like, holy shit. And then I read, I think at most 60 issues in a single day.
Hmm.
Um, that was a lot of reading that day, like all day. Um, and then the eclipse happened, and then I was just like destroyed,
I know. I read.
mental,
Yeah, I read.
mentally,
Yeah.
emotionally. That was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to like get through. Like in immediate, like it hurt me so bad to watch that or to read that. Um, and then yeah, like after that, like it wasn't quite as like I didn't go quite as fast. Golden Age was definitely my favorite, but I still finished the whole thing in like
Hmm.
probably 3 weeks. Uh, it was fast. But Vinland's been that sort of that way too. I do like still like I read a lot in a single day, like 30 issues, and then I take like a 5 day break. But that's not really because that's just because I have a lot of stuff going on between work and school and,
Yeah.
and
Vinland
everything.
has a lot of slice of life and just like comedic parts to keep you like keep you going.
Yeah.
You don't get into as dark of a headspace. Like even with what
There
the
are
worst
moments
part.
I'd say in Vinland though, but they're not. I would say they're not as like drastic and like
Yeah.
big
Well,
as Berserk,
well,
of course.
Oh
both
yeah.
of them have the same tool. I can't remember his name, but well, I guess his name technically is Thorfinn. Leaf's like son who's with
Oh,
him all the
Bug-Eye,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like he is clearly he is Puck. He is what Puck is.
Mm-hmm.
Puck
Yeah.
is literally like described as like Puck describes himself. He's like, I'm the only thing keeping this story like somewhat readable.
Keep this
Like if I
going.
wasn't like he breaks the fourth wall all the time, and he makes Star Wars like he becomes Emperor Palpatine, and he's doing all these funny random jokes, and I think Bug-Eye serves a sort of similar role as somewhat, and I love his banter with uh with the girl Gutrid. Is that how you say it?
Gertrude,
I
I think.
Gertrude.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Gertrude.
love that banter. That's sort of a nice like thing to just like something positive that's always constant
Mm-hmm.
that you can sort of focus on, reel you back.
Is there? I want to ask though, and this is a question for both of you guys. Is there a character? It doesn't have to be one that's stuck with you. It could be a character you just like for comedic reasons. Just another character you've really liked other than Thorfinn. So far in your reading, I should say.
I mean, I'd say my like Thorfinn is now my favorite character, but he wasn't when all I had watched was the anime.
Mm-hmm.
Like Askeladd was like definitely my favorite character only watching the anime, but now those two are still a league above everybody else. Like Askeladd and Thorfinn are by far my favorite too. But I also like that doesn't mean I don't like the other characters. Like Thorkel is awesome.
I love
He's
Thorkel,
funny as
too.
hell. He's a beast. Einar, I really like Einar. I didn't think I was going to at first. He was just sort of there, but now I really like him.
Well, what is it? From my own perspective, like after watching the anime and then like Max told me little tidbits, or like I even like saw a few tidbits before I started reading it, like you think like Thorfinn has like a best friend accompanying him through all this stuff. That's
No
boring.
way,
I don't
he's
want
a
to hear that. And
loner.
then
Yeah.
no, and then you read it and it's like, oh my God, Einar, brother, just such a good character.
We will create Vinland. That whole like, oh, that's one of my favorite
Yes.
panels.
I really like what just happened after the first fight with Helg in the crossbow and all that shit. Is like when he wakes up after being knocked out for a day. When Thorfinn wakes up, Einar is just like, "Yo, that wasn't cool, bro.
Don't
You
throw
just
your life away."
you almost just gave up."
Here, I'm going to it right now.
And you're like, you're making our commitment and the sacrifice of the girl that he was in love with. I can't remember her name.
Oh, there's a quote. There's a quote about that scene. Or it's right before it, but it's if you hate murder that much, then then it only makes it more important that you do not commit it yourself. You will regret it.
Exactly. Just that I love what he's doing. Like he's not just the like random farmer guy that Thorfinn met. Like he's genuinely serves an important part to the plot. And I didn't think he would at first. So I've been pleasantly surprised at what he's become.
Well, and that's why I like Thorfinn's crew, like so much. Is it? They're all unique characters. They're all pretty different, but I think they all. I mean, you could like go into different stuff about it, but I think they all represent like a different part of Thorfinn, a different part. Like Hilda, of course, represents his past. Einar, I would say represents his present, maybe, and like his current goal. And then I think the baby, forget his name, but he could represent the future of Thorfinn, what he's working towards. So.
I think that's the name, Carly, I forgot.
Yeah, something like that.
I just call him Carl.
Hey, Coral.
Carl.
Coral.
Carl. Wasn't expecting that. It's funny.
Sorry, like I'm looking for like that scene. He just says to Thorfinn, he says when like Thorfinn's like, well, I just get to like, basically let myself die to save you guys. Yeah. And the way he was saying like, oh well, I've earned this, let her kill me. He said that's not fair to think that way.
Yeah, that's not fair. I love that panel of him just looking at like.
It's so well drawn too.
He means business. Like he's looking at him like, dude, you fucked up.
Yeah. I think though, like probably one of my favorite panels in all of Vinland Saga, I should say, is the I just want to be a better person. I don't know if you guys have gotten to that one.
Yeah.
That's not, that hasn't. What is it? Elise Isaac.
I can't remember.
You haven't read to that.
And I'm not gonna spoil my favorite panel in all of Thor Vinland Saga. You guys will not see for a while, but that's one for later. That's one for like next time we have you on.
Yes.
Yes.
But that's like one of my favorites. But yeah, I think dude, Vinland Saga is so good.
It's great.
Yeah, dude, and Isaac, we'll have to get you on more because we'll have to get you on more to discuss about Guts, and then because I know you're a big Attack on Titan kind of guy.
Yeah,
so.
and I've not read the manga. I've not finished Attack on Titan. I've only watched the anime, so I don't know how it ends.
I remember when like season 4 part 1 ended, and then Nick goes, dude, Isayama or whatever his name is, he's writing it right now. It's gonna come out this day. And I read the entire series, but like that was one I also
yeah, the ending.
Oh my gosh, that one was good.
I don't know the ending. I know it's insanely, ridiculously controversial.
I loved it. I'm just gonna say I thought it was good, but that's for when we discuss the ending with you.
Have to talk about it, and it's coming out in just a few months.
I know, but the weird thing is they're only going to be adapting like what 3 or 4 chapters, I think. So it's like they're gonna really have to stretch it, or it's gonna be like a few episodes.
Give me 1 sec. I gotta step away.
Is it really? I thought it was only a few. But and then like I know before Nick had got on before we started recording, you'd also talked about that you're watching Chainsaw Man as it comes out. Once part 1 ends, once the anime, I don't know if they're doing seasons or cores or whatever, but once this part. What's currently coming out, once the 12 episodes end, we're gonna have to get you on. We have a group of friends that we're thinking about. Our friend Connor, we had talked about.
He just got off the mic a second ago.
Oh no!
He can't hear you.
Oh no!
But we will have to get him on, along with all the other people that we're forcing to watch Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, dude, we gotta get Drees on. We gotta get the other Max on, so this podcast is even more confusing.
Isaac will need to. I'm just saying. He should read Jujutsu Kaisen.
I tried to convince him. I think he would like it. Get him to like talk about. Bro.
All right. Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. No, we were just talking. We're like, because we have a bunch of friends that also like Chainsaw Man. We have like a friend that's a film major up in like Chicago that loves Chainsaw Man. We're like, dude, we need to get him on for when the series ends so we can discuss it. Our other friend Connor, who we got to watch Jujutsu Kaisen, also is interested in watching. So like, dude, when the series ends, we'll have like 5 or 6 people, maybe even 7 on here to just discuss it, which would be so good.
One of my roommates who's the one who got me into Berserk, and he got me into anime really a lot. He's watching it too, and he hasn't read the manga either. So
dude, this past episode. Yo, do we just?
I haven't watched the one that came out today.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna watch. Like that's what I'm gonna do when we're done here. I'm excited.
Nick knows exactly what panel or what part that got animated. I was about to joke around about, but
I just love how funny it is. Like this man's motivations literally come down to tits. That's awesome. I love that.
Well, because like that goes back to like the Shonen stuff of like character motivation of like new gen stuff. Like Itadori's is to from Jujutsu Kaisen is to die a good death. Demon Slayer's character Tanjiro is just wanting to save his sister. I'm just like looking through my stuff. And then Deji's is just so ridiculous. That's also like I love Bleach, Isaac, and I'm gonna go on a thing about Bleach. That's why I think personally I need to read the other 2 big 3s, but right now that's why Ichigo is my favorite protagonist, is because his goal is not to be the head of his village, to be the most famous pirate or whatever. It's to protect his friends and family. It feels like it's a tangible goal, and that's also why I like Thorfinn, because it's like like making a whole country. I don't think all 3 of us and our viewers will ever be able to do that in their lives, but like just being able to like create something that matters, being able to grow, just something tangible in your life is why I like a lot of these MCs. And that's goes on, like, even though Deji's is completely ridiculous, I think that's why I like him as an MC, because he's like, everyone around him is like, Aki's literally like, bro, you can't be thinking like that. You have to be like, what? Is there someone you want to protect? something you want to do in your life, and he's like, that's what I want to
your
do.
goal.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting, like you compare these guys who like they clearly list out their motivation like right from the get-go. That's different if you like look at a character like Aaron Yeager. Like at this point, like I have no idea what this man is trying to do. Like even though he literally just told everybody like at the end of the of where the anime is currently at, he's like, yeah, I'm just trying to I mean, it said the same thing. He's like, I'm just trying to save my friends, and I'm just like, I want them to live happy lives after I'm gone. But at the same time, it's like, it's what he's doing. Like, I have, like, ultimately, I do not know, like, what his final end game is yet. You know, it's interesting to contrast that with these other MCs who like, okay, I'm gonna build a country. Like that is where I want to die a good death, or I want to protect my sister. Like,
yeah.
Because it seems like those motivations have not changed at the frequency of like some other characters like Aaron's has. Like his has been changing constantly throughout the whole series.
Yeah, no, dude. Me when you ran out for a second, me and Nick were like, dude, we gotta get him to read Jujutsu Kaisen or watch it, dude.
Well, I've watched.
You've
the
watched?
anime.
Oh, you have watched it. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie and I haven't read the manga, but I have watched the anime.
I will have to get you to watch the movie, and read the manga, dude. It's so goated. That's literally what we're gonna discuss after we finish this section.
It's weird how I choose like what mangas to read after watching something and what I don't. Like, I think like Demon Slayer is a good example of like I haven't read the manga for Demon Slayer because I feel like such a huge appeal of Demon Slayer is how grand everything is with the colors and the fight scenes and just like how crazy it all is. Like I feel like that's something that's made me not want to read Demon Slayer as much. Whereas you look at something like Vinland, where like the best parts of this are usually just like the one-on-one conversations in a field. But also I think the art style of Vinland is like more appealing to me, like as something to read. Then again, I haven't actually read Demon Slayer, so I could be wrong. Maybe I'd enjoy it a lot more than I think I would. But
I say, it's a lot better animated.
As I was watching Vinland, I was literally thinking this is exactly the type of show that I'm gonna want to just keep reading. That I wouldn't want to wait for.
Yeah, no, that's complete. That's a really good take. I like that one.
But like Jujutsu Kaisen is like sort of similar. Like, dude, I love the fight scenes in that show. They are so good. I love.
Wait till the new season.
Like it's been great, and so far Chainsaw Man has been great. The animation in certain parts like kind of looks a little funky. Like in the first episode, really, I noticed that. Like I know some people are liking it back to the CGI from Berserk, the Berserk anime in 2017. Which was the worst, most awful thing to ever happen. But I've loved the fight scene so far in Chainsaw Man. I like it. So.
No, dude, Chainsaw Man's good. We'll have to, again, like I said, we'll have to get you on with a bunch of other people.
I hate anime fans on the internet who like send all the death threats to Mappa because they're not animating things the exact way they want them to.
Dude, those animators have probably not seen their families in like 2 weeks. They need to, people need to chill out.
Well, like with Attack on Titan and the CGI in that show, especially after they took over, like. I hate the Attack on Titan fan base. It is so bad.
Dude, okay, my issue with it is everyone compares it to that one scene of Levi like escaping the MPs or whatever. But that scene, they got given like 6 months to animate that one scene and like 2.5 years to make all of season 2. They had like
the Beast Titan scene where Levi takes him down. That I think took them the longest. Or at least they've said that shit took forever.
And like my thing is like they had 9 fucking months to make season 4. Mappa did, and I'm like, of course they were gonna have to try and use CGI and stuff, but.
Really, it did bother me, really, for most of it. The Beast Titan, I don't like the Beast Titan. That's the only one where I'm like, I don't think it looks.
It looks chunky in a few spots, but I'm like,
but
it's fine
like I don't really care. Like ultimately, like I'm there. Like I'm still enjoying it. Season 4 Part 2 is my favorite singular season of that show. It's pretty crazy because season 3 part 2 is like, it's pretty goated.
Yeah, that's like,
Yeah.
it has that season alone, or that part 2 of season 3 has like 6 episodes that are like in the top 20 or something on IMDb or something.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I'd say the rumbling is my favorite piece of, like, favorite singular moment in fiction.
that's a good one.
But it's funny though, like, talking about these toxic fan bases. I swear, I have not seen a single toxic Vinland Saga fan, not one.
They're
Like,
all chill, dude.
it seems like they're all chill.
We're all
And
chill. We're all chill, dude.
I bet you we're about to see some as the farm arc gets animated.
This is gonna show where the real fans are.
Be like, oh, there's no fight scenes. Oh, like, and that's gonna annoy the fuck out of me.
I'm not, but I could go on a whole thing about how the representation of wheat in Vinland Saga and stuff. I'm like, this is gonna show where the real fans are. People are gonna think it's important because, like, I had watched season 1. And then I heard people joking about season 2, and I'm like, okay, well, like, maybe I'll just read the farm arc and not watch season 2. I read, I'm like, dude, this is one of the greatest arcs I've ever read. This is insane. Like, this is, in my opinion, on par with, like, Shibuya of Jujutsu Kaisen and, like, the Soul Society arc in Bleach. I'm like, this is on par with some of those. And there's, like, literally, like, no fighting, and it's very minuscule fighting till, like, the very end. It's so goated.
Yeah. I mean, it's about those character moments, and with how much I talk about how much I like these conversations, I don't want to, like, try to act like I don't like battles and I don't like fight scenes. I love fight scenes. Everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the problem is that people sometimes tend to think that those are always going to be the greatest moments, and that is not the case. That's definitely not the case.
All right, I think we've been going on for like an hour. And we keep switching up subjects, so I'm like, this is a perfect place to end up our segment with you. Thank you so much for coming on. I like, with your ability to, like, do analysis on characters, I would love to have you on again. Like, dude,
absolutely, thank you. And I want to get more into all these other series that we're talking about anyways. So, like, as I do that more, like, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of opportunities there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Dude, all right. Is there, this is gonna be weird, but Isaac, is there like a thought you want to leave our, what, like 30 viewer audience, or like, I mean, we did do well we did do really well, but like, is there a thought you want to leave, like something about these series or whatever you want to leave off on, or just call it there?
I hope my homie Thorfinn makes it out, man. I'm worried about him. I hope he's okay. I don't want him to. I feel protective over him. I want him to be okay. I hope he's okay.
All right.
That is my final thought.
Your final. Pray, pour one out for. All right.
Just like one for guts. Same thing.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on, Isaac. I think we've had a blast talking to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
All right, we're back from our long-winded Vinland Saga segment with Isaac, but so we took a little break, and we both, because we were sitting for a while, so we just needed to take a second. So we're back to talk about what our podcast normally talks about. So this week we did get all 3 series we talk about. We did get 3 chapters, and I mean, other stuff I read weekly was shown in Jump. I got like 5 new chapters this week, which is pretty sick.
I got wait, do I read other stuff? I'm trying to think. I think I got 4, but it may be more.
4.
I need to read Sakamoto Days and catch up.
I know, that was my goal today at after class, when I was waiting for my film class to start to read it.
I've been trying to read Hunter x Hunter and Bleach. I'm trying to read too many things at the same time, is what I'm basically saying. Anyways, how do we want to start this off? My Hero.
I think my Hero's a great starting point. It's just a continuation.
The worst manga ever to be created, because they mentioned League of Legends.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
I'm so happy that at least the villains play.
It's the villains that play, because it is a game villains would play. That is such a villain game. This chapter, I mean, it was just, again, just a continuation of our fight from last week, at Change of Pace. I mean, the arm dude, you know, we, like, never really got much on him, but now we're getting a ton on him. I think he's honestly now becoming a really cool character being fleshed out. I could just say that because like he's the one we're focusing on.
Yeah.
And then how Lizard Dude, I forget his name. God. Excuse me.
Who remembers his name? Ripoff.
What is his name? No.
We don't even remember what his name's. Spinner, right?
Yes.
That's what like his. I don't know. What is it? Lizard Dude. That's dumb.
I'll go with Spinner. If we get it wrong, we get it wrong. So yeah. Find out that Spinner actually got. What was it? How many quirks did he get from not just the giant one? Yeah, he's got the offensive and the defensive one. Yeah.
So he got the big quirk and then the scale armor quirk. So he's like just like a giant. He's just a giant lizard.
Yeah.
Just strong lizard.
But, and then we find some more out about, I'm gonna say Octopus Dude, the arm guy. Kind of cool. Yeah. He saves the kid. Boom. Not a whole lot to talk about.
He was wrongly treated like the rest of the heteromorphs. Whoop-de-doo. So yeah, it was a good chapter. Really good art again this week.
Just like, the fight, so there's not a ton to talk about. It was a good chapter. Oh man, we're not just glossing over it because we don't like My Hero, but yeah, there's not a lot. I mean, because of these big fights happening.
We have to like it enough to read it.
Exactly, and want to talk about it.
Like, just what is it? This one isn't as impactful as the other two chapters that have come out this week.
That's fair.
As the League of Legends. It's so sad. It's so sad.
Instant zero chapter. Instant mid chapter. But yeah, My Hero, I enjoyed it. Getting some more. Excuse me. Some of the development on some more characters.
Timeline.
Yeah.
A hero society with League of Legends. Why? Okay.
Do you have any other thoughts on My Hero this week, Nick?
It's honestly been one of the more interesting mini arcs in this second war arc. That's my best way to put it. There's like it's interesting, but still not as engaging as anything else that I've been reading in Shonen Jump so far.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So yeah.
You want to move on to Chainsaw Man then?
Yes.
Okay. A lot happened in Chainsaw Man, dude. A lot.
Yes.
We got Deji. He wasn't taking a sick day.
Yes. And he's not the girl in the schoolgirl.
I know, we've been bamboozled.
He just showed up again. For the second time.
We've been bamboozled. So yeah, we didn't get anything on that random person we were talking about.
Yeah, she didn't show up.
I saw something we didn't talk about last week, because we didn't think about it, but that I saw later on is that someone was thinking that that's one of the 4 horsemen. Because you have like the War Devil.
Yeah,
someone was like, well, someone said it was like a particular one, like I don't know.
I have no clue.
But someone said it was a particular one that it could be, which would make sense. What I remember of it. That fight with Deji's so good, dude. This little bit.
I need to look up what are the 4 horsemen.
I'm gonna do that right now. 4.
But yeah, I really liked how just goofy it was compared to everything else that we've been getting. Like most of the stuff has been very serious. I say that as like last week we had what is it? What was it? Like what is it? Asa getting naked to make a sword.
Yeah. Well, and then there's the part where like the Justice Head was like, I'm just gonna read his mind. He's thinking about what he's gonna do after the fight. Yeah.
Yeah. He's trying to play cool and reveal his identity. That's the only thing he's thinking
about. But so yeah, Nick, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, 4 horsemen,
famine, war, and
conquest,
I'm assuming it's the conquest one.
That's the one I've been seeing people say, which makes sense, perfect sense, because they call him Big Sister or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and then there's like the one person that's being held, and she's like, oh, Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah.
don't want to blow my cover,
Oh
but a hero
no.
can't stand idly by. It's so funny. It's
uh,
so good.
that
Denji
is
has
so
like
funny.
his character is just like brain rot. It's like well, what is it? It's like how the fan base is currently just like Denji's only person, his only thing that he cares about is grabbing boobs. Like this is what it is now. It's like he only wants to get ladies.
Yeah.
Even though that he's a lot deeper of a character, it's just like we are going to play with this. He is a one-note character.
It's like how people think that the fandom makes Toji out to be like some great dad, and I'm like, no.
Oh yeah,
That's what I love about
exactly.
the fandom. We just like everyone in the fandom's like, oh no, he's like completely different than what anyone is. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I love it. He plays such a generic superhero.
Because I love that like he has those serious like superhero esque moments, but then most of the time he's like, nah, I don't care. I don't
Yeah.
care what I'm doing. He's not actively trying to be Clark Kent and like Clark Kent. He's always it seems like also he is
He's a
almost
different
always
story.
Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
But
And also the art is so good.
oh
Like the
my
chaos
gosh.
from what is it, Yuko and Denji fighting,
Mm-hmm.
like all the rubble and everything, and just I'm rereading the panel like you're kidding me. He's not thinking about the fight at all. It's so good.
Yeah, no, dude, Chainsaw Man this week was good, and I think since this little bit's gonna wind down, I think we're gonna go back to the like every 2 weeks that Fujimoto has been previously doing, which will suck. But
Well, no, this we're still getting a new chapter next week.
yeah, but no, we're starting to wind down from a chapter a week. I think is gonna go
Yeah,
back to this old
maybe. Well,
schedule.
what is it? I can't really think so. At least what is it? Because we're just getting to another big part, which is the War Devil meeting
Oh
Chainsaw.
yeah, cause see, like Asa and the War Devil change, and she's like Chainsaw Man.
Yeah,
That is fair. That is true. But we'll just
but I
have to
don't
see.
know.
It's
Don't think
Fujimoto. It's
that.
unpredictable.
What is it? No. Well, I want to hear what is your next prediction? What do you think could happen next chapter? Like just any possibility.
Literally anything, dude. It's Fujimoto at this rate.
Anything.
No, I think would be kind of funny. What happen is Deji, the fight ends. Deji looks at her and makes some comment that like her uniform's not on, or is like, or she's like trying to like make it known that she's the War Devil, and Deji's like, "Who are you?" And like
Yeah. What?
infuriate Deji,
Yeah.
infuriate the War Devil. She's freaking out about it, and because like she'd be
Yeah.
like, "Well,
You
I'm
don't
the War
remember
Devil,"
me?
and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're that one chick that told me I was a loser." It's like, "No, I'm not that person. I'm someone different." It's like, "Well, you look
Oh
just
yeah,
like
because
her."
they'll have to be like, I am Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
Look at me.
I want to see how Asa's gonna react now that she knows that Deji's also actually Chainsaw
Yeah,
Man.
that's true. I see a lot of theories that they're gonna end up working together, and that the other person that they just introduced is gonna, what is it, be like the main antagonist.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. I'm sure that what is it? It's gonna be a whole Fujimoto thing where it's just like you're gonna make friends with this person and then see them die a horrible death.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly, dude. Oh my gosh.
Same wavelength, same wavelength.
Wom wom wom.
Wah, wah, wah.
But yeah, so I think Chainsaw Man at the rate it's going is still pretty unpredictable. But like, I think we have some good theories going in.
Yeah. Some
We'll
good
just have to see.
predictions.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, because we just got off. I mean, I don't know about you, my business major brain hurts after talking with Isaac for an hour. So that's why I don't think I'm having a lot of like, oh, what do I say?
Good.
So I'm like,
I mean, what is it? I've been saving myself for JJK. 'Cause that's a bombshell of
let's
chat.
okay, lore dump in a good way.
Yes, in a very, very good way.
Hmm. So I like that beginning where they're like, oh well, Rico was like the most promising of them. I like that
Yeah.
there were multiple Star Platinum vessels because of course the way they were talking about it, they were like, well, there's only like one person with 6 eyes and one person that's a Star Plasma vessel, or it seemed like that when they'd been talking about stuff like that previously, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then Kenjaku just points Choso into the theater.
Yeah.
That little scene is so good. I actually really enjoyed that.
It's like when your dad takes you to the movies, just you and your dad watching a little movie.
Taking your dad to oh, that's good. I didn't even think about it that way, Nick.
What is it? I love the conversation between what is it, Yuki and Tengen. It's just like, listen, my man, why'd you bring kids into this?
Like,
What was this? What was your plan? What were you thinking?
I love that like whole little thing where it's like Yuki's like, well, actually, you should be calling me a granny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And also, what is it? Yuki was a star plasma vessel, or at least is one.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about. Like, what is the context behind
Why
that?
didn't she mesh with Tengen? Because it seems like, it seems like with the way the series goes, that Yuki would be a better one because she could actually use cursed energy. That's why that's the thing. Why?
I'm not remembering. I don't remember if Riko could see cursed spirits. I think that she could.
I would assume if she knew about the Jujutsu world, she probably could, but I don't know if she could manipulate cursed energy or whatever. So that's why I'm like, what's going on?
Well, maybe there's a theory that it's just like Yuki, because at the time Yuki was most likely the only one designated as a special grade, and it's like we should probably have this person alive on our side instead of merging with Tengen.
Was Gojo not?
Well, what is it? At least at the time of keeping her alive, they could have also just trained her.
Oh, when she was like young. Okay,
Yeah, because like she's the oldest out of all of them, from what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe she's not, but it seems like it at least. Because like, even like Geto is like, oh yeah, you're the other special grade that doesn't take on any jobs and is super slacking.
Because even she was like, oh, I would have sided with that Cole.
Yeah, if they just didn't plan on killing people.
Yeah. Yuki's becoming quite. I mean, she was already quite mysterious and interesting, but she's becoming even more mysterious and interesting as a character. I can't wait to see what Gege does with her. Because you had mentioned a while ago that you were thinking she was the next person that Kenjaku was going to take over, right?
Oh, yeah.
Are you still thinking that?
I think that's still a really big possibility. Because what is it? The only thing that I can think. Okay, so this brings us on to the other part of the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, my man Choso. I'm so sad. I love Choso.
You think he's gonna die? Yeah.
I think that there's a high chance of it, but he's gonna die in style. Is the best way to put it. He's gonna domain expansion or something.
That'd be cool.
Like, I just need to see blood manipulation get a domain expansion and see it be.
It needs blood manipulation. Blood manipulation just needs something. Why is it a noble technique? It seems like, for the most part, it seems when like a normal human uses it seems like kind of garbage.
Mid.
Yeah, it's mid. It's like literally like Miwa seems more powerful than Noritoshi when in
some circumstances.
Yeah, not all the time, of course.
I see you, Broken Ronin fanboy. What is it?
You need a Miwa enlightenment.
Well, what is it? The best that Noritoshi, like, his biggest feat has been shooting that. His two biggest feats have been shooting the piercing blood at Hanami. That like dealt damage to him, and then Megumi is like, oh, he was holding back the entire time. I'm still really weak. And then him fighting Naoya and blasting him point on after like getting slammed through a ton of buildings. So like, he at least has high durability.
And that could be because he's using, he's basically like boosting himself with blood manipulation. But
yeah,
I would like to see something.
Think it's a great technique.
Because I mean, oh, you keep going.
Sorry, what is it? It's one of the big three techniques for a reason, and it's got to be the domain expansion. Because one of the best moves that's been used with blood manipulation was made by Choso himself. Like, it's not a normal thing.
Oh, the supernova one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like that's just it. Or maybe the fact that like I don't know, he's like 300 years old, but he's only been in that little baby form for like the 300, the little fetus form before he
Yeah,
got put into a regular human. So he just experimented for 300 years.
that's true.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
but
So are
we
you
need
gonna?
to see some. I was like, sadly, Choso might die, but I'm like, well, I would have loved to see like Choso maybe train Noritoshi or like them give each other some pointers on blood manipulation that would have made them stronger.
Yeah,
Like, could help
yeah,
give Noritoshi that boost we had talked about in the past that he needs.
yeah.
And
Even though
I think also
I think
Noritoshi
that
it
he's
could be
part.
something motivation related he might need it more now, and that seems like what they're kind of they could be gearing him towards anyways. But he needs Noritoshi needs something.
My my opinion is that I think that Noritoshi is just done in the story because he's kind of just at that point where he says that like, oh, I'm useless. There's no point to me being here. Like
Fair, yeah.
I'm out. And they had like the little clip of like his mom talking about like I gave him that name just so that he would eventually come back to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that he's gonna abandon like the modern jujutsu worlds.
Oh.
Either that or like as he said, die up like have his friends what is it? His whole like ashes thing. His really cool thing that he said as he was just getting his shit kicked
Oh
in.
yeah.
I think that that's all he's relegated to, and I think that this is like where we're just gonna get the last good big piece of like blood manipulation, sadly. Unless Choso lives, he could just live in what is it? Something else happens, but I think that he's gonna die.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah.
sad. I love Choso. I really hope that if he does die, which I think that it's gonna take a couple chapters too.
Yeah,
Um,
they're definitely gonna
that
Giga's gonna draw
him
some like cool ass fight first.
Well, like, what is it? I want to see him on the brink of death, and Yuji has like that instinctual thing that he could feel that he's about to die, like how the rest of the brothers can.
Mm-hmm.
And if I see that, that's probably gonna make me really sad, and I'm not gonna cry. Maybe I'll cry about it.
Because I know
But
you really like Choso.
oh, I love Choso.
Yeah.
Love Choso.
I'll be sad to see him go because I mean I just really like his dynamic with Yuji too. So it'll
Yeah,
be really sad to see that go away.
see that go away. Yeah,
Well, I mean,
that's
what? There's like
gonna
9 other
react.
brothers. We can just replace him with a different one.
No, I'd be so sad.
No, I'm
Be
joking.
so.
I'm joking.
What is
But
it? Because Yuji's the only person that has like a deep connection with them, and it's just that's gonna be really sad to see what comes of it.
mm-hmm. Yeah, because
And I have a feeling that I'm sorry to interject.
oh
I
no,
feel
you're
like
good.
Yuki's gonna let Kenjaku just take him, just take Tengen,
Really?
because like she seems really frustrated with Tengen to the point that it's just like this guy's not even useful anymore. Get him out of here.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
Like I'm sure that Yuki, like what is it? She's no longer like that third party that I think a lot of the community was thinking about. Like she has different ulterior motives. Like she's just a good, upstanding person that doesn't want to see kids like go through horrible, traumatic experiences.
but then we don't get Jujutsu Kaisen, so.
Exactly.
Then we don't
Exactly.
get Yuji eating a nasty ass finger for no reason.
Yeah. So I think that her motives are gonna change and work to still try to not let Kenjaku win because I think that she personally still wants to do the like whole separation from curse energy
Because
and
that
the
was
whole
her whole
Toad
thing. She just wanted to just
situation.
get rid of
Yeah,
curses entirely.
she wanted to examine Toji, and I think that she's gonna get the chance to examine Maki now
Because
as
Maki's
well.
now fully realized. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to think about because of what happened, but I think we have some pretty good. I think we have a pretty good. The story's kind of going in I think, a pretty good direction. I mean, also, like, you know,
we
Choso
know
could be on the brink
Kenjaku's.
of death, and then
Mhm.
Yuki could just save him. And then we could see what her cursed technique is. That's true, but that we could see that, but I'm like, it doesn't really seem like something Gege would do. So I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know because what is it? My best way to put it is that like I talked to you about this a little bit before. I don't remember if it was on the podcast or not. I don't think it was. Like all of this stuff for the Culling game has just been build up for like
For what's
another
going,
bomb
yeah.
drop. And like this is when it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which sadly it will probably start with Choso dying.
Because that's my thing. It's
But
like my reasoning on I don't want Choso to die is I like Choso as a character, but I'm like Yuji. My thing is just Yuji's gone through so much. I don't want him to
yeah,
lose
he
another
doesn't need to see
person.
his brother
Yeah,
die.
his like basically biological brother die. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because then I
It's
think that could push him over the edge.
yeah,
For like, I mean, because we talked about with Isaac, you know, that what's going on with Thorfinn, but I'm like, that could push him over the edge to start killing, unlike
yeah,
what Thorfinn didn't do. So
yeah. But also that may be the inspiration that Yuji needs
I think
to
that's what the way
excel
Gig is
in
going
his
for with it
story.
right now. But
Yeah. And also, what is it? We have Kenjaku's like full motive, because like, what is it? Everyone was like, all right, so like his whole like, I want to create chaos that even I can't control,
mm-hmm.
sort of thing, which is also a very like everyone thought like, okay, that's one part of it, but what's the whole goal? I'm happy to know that the whole goal literally is just that. Like, I just want chaos. I want to see what it ends up looking like.
That's
I
yeah.
want anarchy. I want everything to break apart,
He is
and
an
it would be so
anarchist.
fun. Yes.
So I think we have some very interesting stuff going forward with JJK and some very interesting. This I don't know why, but to me also this chapter kind of felt like a setup chapter. On
This one
top
was
of
definitely one, but it's set
yeah,
up for probably a gas fight of just
yeah,
Choso
we're gonna
versus
see. I think
Kenjaku.
we're gonna see a cool fight.
Yeah. I think that this is where I really hope Choso gets the love that he deserves, at least if he's going out on this one, like as like almost close to, if not equivalent with the special grade, if he goes all out.
Mm-hmm. Because they
So
never
yeah,
actually said what Choso's ranking was or his grade, right?
yeah. But I mean, he's easily messing up Yuji, who is like
A grade
big.
one sorcerer, yeah.
Yeah, he was grade one at that point.
So yeah, I think we are gonna get a cool ass Choso fight. I mean, we could see maybe Choso's been hiding some other um, blood manipulation techniques he's
Ability,
developed.
yeah.
Yeah, or I think this could be a cool one. Is yeah, the other two brothers we've seen have had blood stuff too, but it's been like rot based. Maybe
Yeah.
a way that he could use his former
Well, yeah,
siblings'
on
techniques.
Kenjaku.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
use the flower one that was used on like Nobara and Yuji. So
Yeah.
we have a lot.
That'd be good. That would be good to see it be like a standalone close end battle.
Mm-hmm.
And well, what is it? I really want to see Uzumaki versus whatever the hell Choso has. Because like I think it'd just be really cool to see Uzumaki, or maybe what is it? Because what is it? Kenjaku has idle
Yeah,
transfiguration.
he can use it. So yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
there's a
like
lot of
throw in
potential.
some other like techniques because it is shown that he can use his curses technique. So maybe he uses a few other ones here and there. Um,
Yeah,
but
throw
yeah,
out some transfigured humans, maybe even a transfigured curse.
yeah. My
That would
hope
be that would
is
be fun.
oh that would be an interesting one because they never touched on if Mahito could use idle transfiguration on like curses.
Yeah,
Oh, oh, you just opened up a whole nother can of worms.
I know.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like
But
what.
this is just super exciting. I love to see all of this sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
because my thing is, it's like I don't want my. I should say, I'm not scared of Choso dying. It seems like that's the direction of going, which I am sad about. What I fear happening is Choso gets absorbed by Kenjaku
Oh,
at the.
oh, that's also another option.
I
I didn't
don't
even
want to see
think
that.
about that.
I don't want that to happen though, because
Yeah.
I want if Choso
No,
dies.
that's a worse fate than death,
Because then
honestly.
he would get forced to be used against Yuji. Like that could be a fight. Like actually
Yeah.
Yuji having to after finding out stuff about
back
Choso.
against-
Yeah, like an actual death battle. But I mean, they did have a death battle, but yeah, one of them actually dying, not their liver getting punctured. So like that's something I'm like, that's my thing. Gege's really good about killing off characters. I want him to be good about that if Choso has to die at the end of this fight. I don't want him to get absorbed. Cause that'd be cool though to see Kenjaku use like blood manipulation too. But I would still prefer Choso to die.
I'd prefer him not to use blood manipulation. That'd be so sad.
Yeah, no, because I don't know because Kenjaku's, I don't know if he would if it would work I doubt it would work the same way that it would work for Choso, where he can just replenish his blood with cursed energy, like Choso can. I doubt he could do it that way. So I'm like, then blood manipulation wouldn't be as useful to Kenjaku. And maybe that's why Kenjaku might plan on killing Choso, because he's like, oh, he's might not be super useful to me.
Yeah. This is also just another thing that I want to point out, and it's the whole fact that Kenjaku talks to Choso differently from like most other people. Like and it may also just be like the actual familial bond that they have with each other, but like Kenjaku is so plain and straightforward with Choso compared to any of the other people in the series so far. Like besides Yuki?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can even read in like his facial expressions, like he's just being one-to-one with Choso, like, listen, dude, I tried my best to make this world interesting, and you turned out to be such a disappointment.
I think I think it could be that familiar bond. It could be he's talking to I mean, he does address different curses differently than Choso, but it could be also that he's talking to a kind of another curse. But there's a lot of stuff it could be, and I didn't even think about it. That's a good thing, Nick. You pointed out. I didn't.
Also, there's just so much to talk about with this chapter.
Yeah.
The whole the Culling Games was literally just to distract the rest of the sorcerers while Japanese society got turned into sorcerers.
Mm-hmm.
That's also like a really cool aspect to think about. Is that like everything is falling right into his hands? Like he's succeeding at everything. He's not failed at anything that he's done so far.
Mm-hmm. I know, I'm like, there's a part in the manga I'm looking for.
No, you're all good. I also love the quote, I feel like a toddler holding a crayon with a blank sheet of paper. Like that's such a good villain line. It's so good.
I love the part where he's like, what do you want? He's like, dude, I just told you. He's like, no. Like, what does it mean for you? He's like, just sounds fun.
Yeah, just sounds fun. Like he's just a mad scientist.
Also, whatever the Aaron looking curse thing, it's gonna be the thumbnail for this podcast, but the Aaron looking curse thing that's on the
Oh, you mean like oh yeah. No,
that's like over I think it's Tokyo. I was about to say Paris.
You should do the funny face. What if it looked like a funny face?
A funny face? Like edit some
the last page of the
oh, when he's the
cooperation of curse energy ended up looking like a funny face.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Goofy chapter.
But I love how Kenjaku, when they're in the theater, didn't put them next to each other. He just was away, and they
gave him a little bit of space.
And like the pose he does when he's like looking at Choso, and he's like, "Dude, what are you?" And Choso's looking all stern with his arms crossed, and Kenjaku's like, "Dude, come on, just chillax."
Yeah, it's just like, come on, we're here to watch a movie. Just chill out. I also love Tengen's barrier, how it can just transform into anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if that could also be utilized in the fight. Because,
Kenjaku's
in the enemy's territory.
Is he gonna get, debuffs, or...
Yeah.
Something's gonna happen to him?
He's still probably gonna... come out on top. There's no other
Yeah.
way about it. He's gonna come out on top.
Yeah, no, there's so much to think about with this chapter, and I
Oh,
think
he came in at 12 a.m. I'm trying to get the dates right because all the days are so weird for the culling game.
the, yeah, no, dude, I was so confused by him.
There's some errors too. Gege was even like, I'm messing up on some of these dates, I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie.
really? Yeah. Huh.
I think that's what his weekly Shonen Jump note was this week. Just like so many errors with the numbers. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah.
I
But
yeah. I think we're starting
overall,
to ramble along, so this might be a
yeah,
good spot to end it off. This will be our longest one so far, but
I
yeah.
know.
Just want to say
Yeah.
thank you so much for listening. I hope they enjoyed our normal segment, and you guys enjoy our normal segment. At the end, I'll put timestamps in this one for when each segment starts. But we enjoyed this segment, our normal segment, and then the segment with Isaac. I think it'd be really interesting, especially since he is an English major, to have him on to do more character analysis. That's why I want to have Max on too, because he could analysis like scenes of stuff. But I think
Yeah.
to have, I think this is something I want to that I think people might be enjoying as us having guests on and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
just want to say thank you so much for listening to episode 6 of the Jump podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope you guys have a good week.
Yeah,
We'll see you next week.
see you next week. Hopefully same Tuesday as always. Goodbye.